Caught red-handed at the hen-do-her-bit on the side was my best man. The photo in confetti. He recognized his best man's hands before he recognized his fiancée's mouth. The image sears him in a single blink. Neon bar light, a spill of pink confetti, her veil askew, and two hands he's known since childhood cupping her face like a prayer gone wrong. Not a peck, not a dare, a kiss with history in it. If you find value in real stories told with clarity and truth, make sure to subscribe to stay informed with Left Woman Loud. He doesn't mean to watch twice, but the video, 6 seconds long, filmed at the hen-do by someone who thinks everything is content, loops automatically. On his phone at his kitchen table, the midnight blue of the screen paints his knuckles. The house hums in the kind of silence that knows it's being betrayed. Upstairs, the suit he'll wear in 4 days hangs in a garment bag zipper, smiling like a cruel mouth. He pauses the clip at the frame where the veil slips, and her finger digs into the lapel he bought for his best man last spring. The lapel pin, a tiny silver anchor, winks up at him. He bought that anchor because they joked they were each other's harbor. They carved their initials into pier railing when they were 12. They promised no matter what. Would he have preferred a stranger? Someone without the inside jokes, without the history, without the speech drafted 3 weeks early because best men do that? Or is betrayal worse when it knows exactly where to cut? He hits play again. The music is terrible, something bouncy that calls itself a throwback, and the camera jitters while women shriek-laugh around a circle of glow sticks and glitter. But the shape of the kiss is unmistakable. Not drunk and stupid, focused, hidden in a corner that thought it was private. His phone buzzes. A late text from his fiancée. Her made it to the hotel, don't wait up. Love you more than cake, more than cake. The joke is theirs. She once ate his birthday slice before he got home and stuck a candle in a muffin to make up for it. He still keeps the photo. He stares at the text until the letters blur. Who was the more meant for tonight? He sets the phone face down only to flip it again because silence is worse. 2 more messages this time from an unknown number. It's the video link sent twice, then unknown you need to know before the day. No name, just a black heart, who films a kiss and wraps it in pity. He could call her now. He could scream. He could tell her the wedding is off and mean it for the next 10 minutes before the ache swallows him whole. But something older than anger rises in him, the habit of gathering facts. He's an engineer by title, and by temperament measure twice cut once. What do you measure in a betrayal minute's mouths? The long inventory of almosts. He saves the video to a folder he never wanted to make. Then he rewinds his life. They met in a library that smelled like dust and second chances. She asked where the biographies were and called them borrowed lives. He liked that. She worked in events then, a calendar queen with a lanyard full of keys that jingled when she laughed. The best man, Tom, showed up to their 3rd date by accident, or so he said, with movie tickets he couldn't use anyway. They all sat together. It felt easy, the way the best stories do before anyone realizes they are foreshadowing. Tom became the narrator of their love, the loudest one at birthdays, the first to text when storms knocked the power out, the man who brought a power bank and a pizza, like he was rescuing them from a minor apocalypse. When the ring came oval, warm gold, the exact stone she wanted because he listened, Tom was there with champagne that tasted like metal, shouting in the park while passers-by clapped. Had there been a moment anything slipped? He replays scenes like a detective handling glass, her laughing too hard at a joke. Tom made Tom lingering in the kitchen after midnight, her saying, "You two are the only family that makes sense." He'd folded that sentence up and put it in his wallet. Now he wonders if the edges were sharper than he realized. Last week, during final seating chart chaos, she'd said she was relieved Tom could handle the stag do because he knows how to keep things in order. He'd felt oddly small then, like the groom's job was to stand still while the world organized itself around him. You just show up. She'd kissed his cheek. Everything else is noise. Noise. The word returns now as he presses play for the 4th time. The clip has no mercy. Its loop is a metronome, veil, confetti, anchor, hands. He tries to imagine an innocent explanation. The hen-do culture is wild, he's heard. Games with blindfolds. Dares that get posted and laughed off later. But the kiss knows him. It is formed like the letters of his own name. He sees the way Tom tilts his head. Tom has done that since the 8th grade, and the way she steps into the kiss with purpose. It is choreography, not chaos. What does a man do with the moment his future dies and keeps breathing? The fridge hums. The clock ticks stupidly indifferent. He opens the back door and the night breathes damp against his face. Somewhere, a fox screams a sound like an argument you can't win. He imagines walking to the Hindu hotel, pounding on a door until the corridor fills with faces in mascara and paper crowns. He imagines freeze frames him in pajama pants and a t-shirt that reads "Best Day Ever" from the stag weekend. Tom stumbling out her behind him in a sash that says "Bride-to-be born yesterday." He doesn't walk. He sits. He plays the video again. Who sent it? A bridesmaid with a grudge? A bartender righteous about vows? Or the universe petty and efficient? He scrolls Instagram, that loud cathedral of curated lives. The hen party tagged itself 2 hours ago. Boomerangs of shots feed on a dance floor. Neon signs that say "Girls, girls, girls" like a permission slip. He spots her elbow here, the back of her head there. Tom doesn't belong at a hen party. He knows that. Everyone knows that. So why is he in the video? Why is his man there at her night? He types to the unknown number, "Who are you?" Delivered. Seen. No response. He types to Tom, "All good." The 3 dots dance. Stop. Dance again. Tom, "Big day soon." "Proud of you, mate." Mate. The word has never sounded like an insult before. He types to her. Deletes it. Types again. Him. "You okay?" Her best night. You. He watches the lie float a feather with a nail hidden in it. His mind lurches to logistics deposits, vendors, the band that insisted on full payment. The venue's email with bolded cancellation terms, non-refundable within 7 days. 4 days to go. Money isn't the point, he tells himself, then hates himself for thinking of money. But money is time, and time is the only thing that can't be refunded. He carries the phone upstairs like a relic. In the spare room, his childhood map of the world still thumbtacked above the desk. He opens a blank document and writes a speech he never wanted to write. Not the best man's speech he'd heard in Tom's voice 100 times. Not vows. Something else. A statement. An artifact to hold the shape of a collapse. On the night my fiancée celebrated her last evening before marriage, he types, "My best man kissed her." He stares at the period until it looks like a hole. What would his mother say? She'd clap her hands once and call it nonsense, then make tea strong enough to hold a spoon upright. What would her mother say? Probably. "We can fix this, don't ruin the day over a mistake." What does he say? He doesn't know. He only knows that when he loved her last week, it felt like breathing. Now it feels like drowning quietly in a room full of people who think you're just resting. The phone buzzes. A new message from the unknown number, unknown. Check the timestamp. He arrived after midnight. He wasn't invited. He scrubs back to the corner of the clip where a neon clock hangs above the bar, vast and stupid. 12:14. The hens wear sashes, team bride, and somebody's tiara flashes yes, like a sign you can turn on and off. Tom is not wearing a sash. Tom is not supposed to be there at all. So how did he get in? And why did no one stop him? He pictures the invitation thread. He wasn't included on the casual come-through that floats into a man's phone like absolution. He breathes. He doesn't throw the phone. He doesn't call. He saves the file again to the folder with a name that makes his ribs ache. Wedding, oh, evidence. Downstairs, the garment bag sways slightly in the draft as if a body sighs inside it. On the dresser, 2 wedding bands rest in a velvet box, small moons waiting for a tide that might never return. He picks up his ring. It is heavier than yesterday, as if metal learns grief. Would his best man even come to the ceremony with that mouth? Would his fiancée wear white with that memory? Could he say "I do" with his throat clogged by a clip 6 seconds long? He closes the box. What he doesn't know, what none of them know, is that the video wasn't the only thing filmed at the Hindu. There's audio too. Words, names, promises whispered into the wrong ear. And someone is about to send that next. Doubt and paranoia. The video didn't stay on his phone. It lived in his skull, looping behind every blink, searing into the backs of his eyes until he almost wished he could go blind. He tried working the next morning, tried answering emails, sipping coffee, pretending life was linear. But every subject line blurred into her lips, his hands. Every ping of his phone felt like another betrayal waiting to be revealed. Shadows, where none belonged. At the office, colleagues congratulated him. "Big week, mate. Bet you're nervous, eh?" He forced smiles, nodding through clenched teeth. All the while, he wondered, Would they still be smiling if they knew he pictured the video leaking, spreading through whispers sent in group chats labeled Hen Chaos? He pictured the headline bride-to-be and best man share more than vows. Humiliation burned hotter than grief, the question that ate him alive. That night, lying beside her in bed, he couldn't stop staring at the rise and fall of her breathing. She looked peaceful, hair spilling across the pillow, the faintest smile on her lips. Was she dreaming of him or of Tom? The thought turned his stomach. He shifted away, but the mattress dipped back, pulling him toward her like gravity. Love was a cruel anchor. It held you steady even as it dragged you under. Ignored signs. He remembered the stag weekend only 2 weeks ago. Tom had been quieter than usual, sipping whiskey with a faraway look. When asked about his speech, he'd shrugged, still working on it. Words matter, you know. At the time, it felt thoughtful. Now, in hindsight, it felt loaded. What words had he planned? What words had he already said to her? Testing the waters. The next day, he decided to probe. Over breakfast, he asked casually, "Did Tom text you about the seating chart he mentioned he might?" Her spoon clinked too hard against the bowl. A fraction of a pause, barely noticeable, but he noticed. "No," she said lightly, "not recently." Her phone buzzed on the counter. She grabbed it too quickly. Screen down. Always screen down. His jaw clenched. He sipped coffee that tasted of lies. The call by afternoon paranoia had grown roots. He called Tom, casual tone rehearsed in the mirror. "Hey mate, all good, big day coming." Tom's laugh was forced, thin as paper. "Yeah, all good. Just making sure everything's sorted. You know me, organized chaos." The words echoed too closely to her text the night before best night. All sorted. Did they practice their lies together? The thought stabbed, but he kept his voice steady. "Looking forward to your speech." A pause. "Long enough to betray a crack." "Yeah, you'll like it. Promise." The stranger's silence. That evening, he typed again to the unknown number who'd sent the video. Him. "Why send this to me? What do you want seen?" No reply. The silence screamed louder than words. If they knew this, what else did they know? That night, while she showered, he opened her laptop on the counter. The screen blinked awake, and there it was, an open browser tab. Title: Hindu Memories Private Album. He clicked. Dozens of thumbnails, loaded photos, clips, sound files. His hand hovered over the mouse. Every cell in his body begged him not to look, but he clicked anyway. And what he found wasn't another kiss. It was his best man's voice whispering things a groom was never meant to hear. The Hindu set up audio proof. The private album loaded like a slow confession. Row after row of thumbnails, blurred party lights, tiaras, champagne flutes, girls draped over one another in plastic crowns that read Bride Tribe. At first it was harmless. Silly faces. Shots lined up like soldiers. The bride laughing with lipstick smudged at the edges. But halfway down, his stomach clenched, because tucked between the selfies was a folder icon labeled Audio Memories. The first clip. His finger hovered. He told himself, don't click. But curiosity has always been the twin of pain. He clicked. The audio began with bass-thumping women shrieking over music. Then a voice too familiar, Tom, low near the microphone. "You shouldn't let me near you like this." Laughter, hers breathless. A pause. Then a whisper sharp enough to cut, "He'll never know." The file ended in static, but the words stayed. The groom's spiral. He yanked the earbuds out, chest heaving. The room tilted, the laptop screen glowing like a wound. He'll never know. But he did know. And knowing was worse than any suspicion. He pressed play on another file, hands shaking. The second clip. This time, no music. Just muffled hallway sounds. Her voice, "You shouldn't have come." His, "You wanted me to." A silence. Then the sound no man should ever hear, the catch of a kiss, wet and undeniable. He slammed the laptop shut. The echo of that kiss throbbed in his skull like a war drum. Trust misplaced. He remembered Tom at their engagement dinner standing to toast. "To my brother in everything but blood. You found your match. Guard her well." At the time, the words had moved him. Now they mocked him. Guard her well, while Tom himself dismantled the walls. His fiancée returns. The shower shut off upstairs. He scrambled, closing the laptop, forcing his breathing into steady rhythm. She walked in minutes later, hair damp, wrapped in his hoodie, smiling like nothing was broken. "Movie night?" she asked lightly. He nodded, numb, his mind still replaying, "He'll never know." The stranger. Again. His phone buzzed. The unknown number again, unknown. That's not the worst of it. Check tomorrow's uploads. He stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Uploads. More evidence. More poison. Cliffhanger. That night, while she curled against him on the couch, he sat rigid, every muscle locked. She laughed at a scene on the TV, unaware he'd already heard her laugh somewhere else, softer secret meant for another man. And as she rested her head on his shoulder, one thought carved itself into his bones. He couldn't wait for tomorrow's uploads. He had to catch them in the act himself. Caught in the act. Sleep didn't come. Not after the whispers. Not after the kiss on tape. By dawn, his mind was raw, his decision already made. He wouldn't wait for strangers to drip-feed him his own humiliation. He needed to see, to know, the excuse. He told her he had Aaron's last-minute wedding prep. She kissed his cheek, thanked him for making everything perfect. Her lips were warm, soft, ordinary. But he felt the ghost of another kiss layered over it, replaying in his mind like a cruel double exposure. He left before she could see his hands trembling. The drive. The hotel where the hen party stayed was 20 minutes away. He'd been there once before for a work conference, a boxy building of glass and neon anonymous, easy to get lost in. As he drove, every traffic light mocked him. Every red felt like the universe asking, "Are you sure you want to see this?" He drove through all of them. At the hotel, the lobby smelled of cheap perfume and hangovers. Girls in sashes sprawled across couches ordering greasy breakfasts. Some recognized him, they gasped, giggled, whispered behind manicured hands. He ignored them, scanning for the only faces that mattered. The receptionist frowned as he strode past. Sir guests only. But he was already gone, climbing the stairs 2 at a time. The door. He didn't know which room, but instinct pulled him down the corridor past scattered heels and balloons. Laughter spilled from behind one door. Hers. He knew her laugh anywhere. And beneath it, Tom's voice. His pulse roared in his ears. He turned the handle. Unlocked. The scene. The room exploded into chaos the moment the door swung open. Half-empty bottles on the table. Confetti ground into the carpet. And in the corner, her veil crooked his jacket off their hands, tangled in a way that answered every question without words. Her eyes went wide, color draining from her face. Tom froze, guilt flashing across him before he scrambled upright. "Mate," he started. But the word mate broke something deep. The confrontation. The groom's voice came out steady, colder than he felt. How long silence? Her lips parted, but no sound came. Tom ran a hand through his hair, avoiding his eyes. How long, he repeated, louder this time, fists shaking at his sides. Finally, she whispered it was a mistake. His laugh was bitter, hollow. Funny thing about mistakes, they don't usually last months. Her shoulders collapsed. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't deny it. The warning signs. In his mind, puzzle pieces rearranged. The 2 long hugs. The inside jokes he wasn't part of. The nights she said she was planning with the girls when her phone mysteriously went dark. It had been there all along. He just hadn't wanted to see. The breaking point. He turned to Tom. "My best man, my brother, and this is what you do." Tom's jaw tightened. It wasn't supposed to happen. We didn't plan. "Don't you dare!" The groom snapped, his voice cracking. "Don't you dare dress betrayal up as an accident." He stepped back, the weight of the moment crushing him. 4 days before the wedding, invitations sent, guests booked, rings waiting, and here they were together, not even fighting it anymore. He looked at her one last time. "You just gave me my vows," he whispered. Then he slammed the door behind him. What he didn't know was that someone else had filmed this confrontation too, and before the wedding day, the whole world would see it. The fallout secret spread like fire. The hotel door had barely slammed shut before he realized his mistake. He hadn't noticed the bridesmaids. 2 of them stood down the corridor, phones raised, recording everything. His fury, her tears, Tom's guilty silence. Captured, saved, shared. The first ripples. By the time he reached his car, his phone buzzed non-stop. Group chats lighting up. Cousins, old friends, even colleagues. "Is this real, mate? I'm so sorry. You need to see this before it spreads further." He didn't want to open it, but he did. And there he was, his own voice cracked with betrayal, asking how long the internet didn't forgive. It didn't forget. The bride's panic. Back in the hotel room, she clutched her phone with shaking hands. Notifications stacked like bricks, crushing her. Her mother's voice on voicemail. "What have you done? People are calling me." Her bridesmaids, whispering in the corner, half shocked, half thrilled to be part of drama that wasn't theirs. And Tom with his head in his hands, muttering, "We're finished. It's all finished." A warning ignored weeks earlier. One of her friends had joked at brunch, "Careful, hun. People already think you and Tom are too close." She'd laughed it off, said he's like family. But family doesn't kiss in hotel corners. Family doesn't whisper, "He'll never know." Now the warning echoed like prophecy. The groom's silence. At home, he sat in the dark, phone buzzing on the table like a wasp he refused to swat. He couldn't bear to watch the full clip, though everyone else had. What burned most wasn't the betrayal, it was the laughter in the background. Strangers giggling at his heartbreak, turning his private ruin into public entertainment. The best man breaks. Tom showed up at his flat the next evening. No flowers this time. No excuses. Just a hollow face, lips trembling. "I screwed up," he said. "Say the word and I'll step down from the wedding." The groom stared at him, disbelief curdling into rage. "Step down. There is no wedding." The words hit Tom like a punch, but the groom meant them. Every syllable carried the weight of 1,000 ruined promises. The bride's last attempt that night, she texted. Paragraphs long. Her "Please don't end us like this. I love you. I never meant for it to go this far. You're my everything. Can we talk before you decide?" He stared at the screen. The same hands that once wrote him love notes in university now sent him pleas wrapped in desperation. But all he could see was the video thumbnail, her in the veil. Tom too close, his own voice breaking. The next morning he woke to another message. From the same unknown number that had sent the first video. Unknown. "There's one more file. If you really want the truth, meet me before the wedding." His blood ran cold. Because betrayal wasn't finished yet, and whoever this stranger was, they weren't just watching. They were pulling the strings. The stranger's file deeper betrayal revealed. The message stayed on his phone all night. He read it over and over like picking at a wound. "There's one more file. If you really want the truth, meet me before the wedding." The wedding. 2 days away. 2 days before he stood at an altar pretending not to know the taste of lies. He almost deleted it. Almost convinced himself he'd seen enough. But the word truth hooked him like barbed wire. The meeting. He drove out the next morning to the address the stranger sent, a cafe on the edge of town. Neutral ground. Public. Safe, at least in theory. The cafe smelled of burnt coffee and wet umbrellas. In the corner sat a woman he didn't recognize, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as he entered, eyes sharp, assessing. "You're the groom?" she asked. He nodded warily. "And you are a friend of a friend," she said. "Let's just say I don't like seeing men humiliated, especially not like this." The file. She slid a USB stick across the table. "Everything's on here. Videos, messages, stuff you haven't seen." He hesitated. Why? Her gaze hardened. Because they weren't even careful. Because they laughed about you like it was all a game. The words made his stomach turn. He grabbed the USB and left without another word. The truth at last. At home, he plugged it in. Folders bloomed across his screen. Chats, photos, audio files. He opened one, her voice, laughter breathless. And then Tom's voice, "Don't worry, he'll never find out. He's too trusting." Another clip, her texting under the table during dinner, sending hearts while he sat across from her. And the worst, a video from weeks ago, not at the hen do, his own living room. Tom sitting on his sofa, her leaning too close, their knees touching. The camera caught only fragments, but the intimacy was undeniable. The breaking. He staggered back from the desk, bile rising in his throat. This wasn't just one mistake. It was a pattern. A slow erosion of his marriage right under his nose. How many nights, how many lies, his chest burned with rage, but beneath it was something worse. The hollow ache of realizing the life he built had been rotting for months, maybe longer. The promise. He remembered the night he proposed, her hand trembling as she said yes. The look in her eyes, then pure certain. Or so he thought. Was it real? Or had she already been slipping away even then? The call. His phone buzzed. It was her. "Where are you?" she asked, voice frantic. "Please, we need to talk." People are saying things. I need to explain." He almost laughed. Explain what explanation could erase the USB now sitting like a bomb on his desk. He hung up without a word. That night he stared at the divorce papers still tucked in their envelope. He didn't sign them. Not yet. Because the stranger's words still echoed. They laughed about you. And he knew if he confronted them at the wedding itself, the truth wouldn't just end the marriage. It would end them publicly, irrevocably. What he didn't know was that Tom had already written his best man's speech, and inside it lay one final confession. The wedding day disaster. The speech that shattered everything. The morning of the wedding arrived like a cruel joke. Sunlight spilled across white flowers, satin ribbons, and rows of polished chairs. To the guests, it looked perfect. To him, it looked like a stage set for execution. His suit clung to him like armor. The ring in his pocket burned like coal, and the USB tucked safely away felt heavier than any vow. The walk down the aisle. She looked radiant. Veil, glowing bouquet trembling in her hands, a smile practiced but fragile. Every eye followed her as she walked toward him. But all he saw was Tom standing at his side in a crisp suit, smiling too easily as though last week's betrayal had been erased with a tie and cufflinks. The hypocrisy made his fists itch. The ceremony. The priest spoke of love fidelity forever. Each word dripped with irony. When asked if he took her as his wife, he hesitated just long enough for whispers to ripple through the pews. But he forced the word out anyway. I do. Not because he meant it, but because he wasn't finished yet. The reception laughter glasses clinking the smell of roasted lamb. A band played soft jazz while guests toasted with champagne. He barely tasted his food, barely heard the compliments, because he was waiting for the part he knew was coming, the speech. Tom stood raising his glass, clearing his throat. All eyes turned. The groom's stomach knotted. At weddings, Tom began voice steady. The best man is supposed to tell funny stories, embarrass the groom a little, and say something heartfelt about love. Laughter, nods. But today... He paused, swallowing hard. Today I can't stand here and pretend. The room shifted. Murmurs, chairs creaked. He continued voice cracking now because the truth is, I crossed a line I should never have crossed. With her. He gestured toward the bride. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She deserves someone who sees her, someone who listens. And I thought, maybe that was me. But it wasn't. It should have been him. And I ruined it. The bride breaks, her bouquet slipped from her hands. No, stop, Tom, please. She cried, face white as the veil. But it was too late. The words hung in the air, impossible to retract. Family members turned to one another in shock. Guests whispered furiously. Phones appeared, recording every second. The groom's turn. Slowly he stood. The room fell silent. I wasn't going to do this here, he said, voice low, steady. But since the truth is finally spilling out... He reached into his jacket and pulled out the USB stick. I have the rest. The videos, the audio, everything. A murmur surged through the crowd. Her knees buckled. Someone caught her before she collapsed. Tom buried his face in his hands. He held the USB, high eyes scanning the shocked faces of friends, family, strangers. This is what marriage looks like when you don't guard your vows, he said. And everyone deserves to know. Gasps, silence, then chaos. What no one expected was that the video files would leak online within hours, turning one ruined wedding into a public scandal seen by thousands. Public ruin. When the scandal goes viral, it didn't stay in the reception hall. It never does. By nightfall, the videos were already on TikTok. First, the bridesmaid's shaky clip of the confrontation at the hen do. Then Tom's broken confession during the best man's speech. Finally, whispers that the groom himself had evidence waving a USB like a gavel. Within hours, hashtags bloomed like weeds. Hendo scandal. Best man mistake, wedding gone wrong. The online trial comments flooded in brutal and relentless. Imagine being cheated on by both your fiancé and your best mate. Cancel the wedding, keep the receipts. She chose confetti over commitment. Men like Tom are why trust issues exist. Memes followed. Screenshots of his pained face at the altar captioned with jokes that cut deeper than knives. His private grief had become public property. The bride's collapse. At her parents' house, she hid under blankets, phone buzzing nonstop. Her mother paced the room, furious. "You humiliated us all. What were you thinking?" Her father just stared at the floor, silent, ashamed. She scrolled through comment after comment until her hands shook. Strangers dissecting her choices, her body, her laugh. Some calling her selfish, others calling her stupid. All of them certain they knew her better than she knew herself. Tears soaked the pillow. She wanted to disappear. Tom's isolation. Tom lost his job within a week. Clients didn't want a scandal tied to their events. His phone went dark, friends blocking him, neighbors glaring. At night, he drank, replaying the speech in his head the moment his own voice destroyed him. He told himself he'd spoken out of guilt, out of some warped attempt to set things right. But guilt didn't erase betrayal, and truth didn't heal it, just burned everything down faster. The groom's silence. Meanwhile, the groom refused interviews, ignored messages, turned down every exclusive offer. He sat in the quiet of his flat, curtains drawn, letting the storm rage outside. The USB still sat on his desk untouched. He didn't need to watch again. He already knew every second by heart. What haunted him most wasn't the betrayal, it was the laughter. Bridesmaids giggling in the background, guests gasping like they were watching a soap opera, as though his heartbreak was entertainment. The dream he lost. He remembered how he once pictured their wedding day, her walking toward him, veil floating, Tom standing beside him, steady and proud, the three of them bound not just by ceremony but by years of friendship. That dream was ashes now. Every image spoiled, every memory corrupted. The question. People kept asking, will you forgive her? Will you give him another chance? Will there be another wedding? He gave no answer. Because forgiveness wasn't a performance, and love wasn't something you resurrect in front of an audience. One night, as the noise online reached its peak, he received a final message from the same unknown number. Unknown. Now the whole world knows. The only question left is, what will you do with what's left? He stared at the words, heart pounding, because the wedding was over. But the choice of how to end their story was still his. And tomorrow he would make that choice, whether to close the book or write a new chapter alone. Aftermath and reflection, the final choice. The storm didn't pass, not quickly anyway. Weeks after the wedding, that wasn't whispers still followed him in grocery aisles, on buses, even in church pews. Some looked at him with pity, others with curiosity. Everyone had seen his heartbreak. Everyone thought they had a right to it. But silence became his shield. He answered no questions, granted no interviews, and let the noise burn itself out. The empty flat. The suit still hung in the wardrobe untouched since that day. The rings lay in their velvet box, small moons no one would ever wear. He considered selling them but couldn't bring himself to do it. Instead, he placed them in a drawer, out of sight but not out of memory. Every time he opened it, they reminded him of what he almost lost his life to, a promise written in lies. The bride's apology. One evening, weeks later, she appeared at his door. No makeup, no veil, just her raw and trembling. "I ruined us," she whispered. "I ruined me. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to hear me say it." Her eyes pleaded for something, absolution maybe, or a scrap of kindness. He listened in silence. Once her words could melt him. Now they were just echoes of what used to be. Finally he said, "You wanted to be seen, but not by me. And that's the truth I can't unsee." She nodded, tears spilling, then left without another word. Tom's silence. Tom never came. No messages, no apologies beyond the speech that had already destroyed them all. And that was fine. Some friendships don't end with a fight. They end with absence. The pier. He found himself one evening at the pier where he and Tom had carved their initials as boys. The wood was weathered letters, half faded. Once that anchor symbolized loyalty. Now it was just two ghosts etched into timber, washed by waves that didn't care. The stranger's last message. His phone buzzed again. The unknown number. Unknown. You did the right thing. Some truths are worth the pain. He never found out who it was. And maybe he didn't need to. Because the truth wasn't theirs to own, it was his. The final choice. He stood by the water, the USB in his pocket. One final time he considered keeping it. Proof. Evidence. A record of betrayal. But then he threw it into the sea. The splash was small, almost insignificant, yet it felt like release. Back home, he sat at his desk, opened a blank document, and wrote the first honest line he'd allowed himself in months. They ruined the wedding, but they didn't ruin my future. That part I get to write myself. He closed the laptop, breathed deep, and for the first time since the hen do, the silence in the room wasn't heavy. It was peaceful.